Guys, a piece of my hair was sticking up just now, and I think I filmed my last video with a piece of hair sticking up. So, I hope not, but it's quite possible. These people need to cut ties, all right? Snip, snip, bitch, because this friendship drama is too much. Just remember, if you guys want to see all the behind the scenes of my life, non-reaction style content, go to my shorts channel and subscribe. I am a lot more active on there these days. I post pretty much every day about little behind the scenes shit about my life. It's also linked in my description of every video as well. I just found out that my best friend has been telling all our friends that my boyfriend tried to cheat on me with her. I'll be damned. This was posted July 17th, 2024. Ellen, 22 female, and I, 21 female, met through an internship 3 years ago and instantly became best friends. About a year ago, I started crushing on George, 24 male, who interns at the same company, but in a different department as us. Ellen and another one of our coworkers set us up last fall, and we really hit it off. We have fallen in love, and we often talk about a future together. This is where things get messy. From early in our relationship, pretty much as soon as we went from just dating to being official, Ellen has been colder to me. She's never made it a secret that she doesn't particularly like George, though she's never said anything direct about it. The only issue she ever raised was when we first got together and he got really sick. I was studying for the MCAT at the time, and I was about a month out from my main test day when he had a pretty bad flare-up of a chronic illness. Because he knew that Ellen and I were so close, he called her to ask her if she thought he should tell me that he was sick, or if it would be better to keep it from me so he didn't take away from my studies. Ellen didn't like this at all. She told me she thought it was incredibly inappropriate that he had tried to contact her like that, and he shouldn't have called her about something so personal. I would not react that way, I don't think. I thought her reaction was a little over the top, but I talked to George about it and he apologized to her and never called her again. But she didn't let it go. A few weeks later at a party, she made a comment that I was always choosing George over my friends. My roommate was going to be out of town for the next week, so she said that she should say her goodbyes since I probably would just spend the whole week at home with George. She tried to play it off as a joke, but I was really surprised that she felt that way. I never wanted to be that kind of girl who turns her back on her friends when she gets into a relationship. And I had been trying really hard to balance my time with my boyfriend and my friends. But it seemed that she felt neglected. So I started putting more effort into our friendship. Over the next few weeks, I tried to make plans with her at least 5 or 6 times. Every time she came up with some excuse not to see me, even once canceling at the last minute and citing a meeting she forgot about at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I was hurt. I knew our friendship was dying, and every time I tried to revive it, she rejected me. Finally, I decided the ball was in her court. If she wanted to be friends, I was open to it, but I was sick of being rejected, and she would have to be the one to reach out to me. She never did. Meanwhile, things were deteriorating at work. We had been assigned to the same project for the year, which required working very closely together. As our friendship fell apart, she started ignoring me at work, being rude and short, and making my share of our tasks very difficult for me. I felt like she was constantly breathing down my neck and waiting to catch me in a mistake. I figured she was gossiping about me behind my back, but at this point I was so exhausted from dealing with her that I couldn't be bothered about it. She would say whatever she wanted to say, and I would just be nice and patient with her and count down the days until our internship ended. Until today. I had lunch with one of our other coworkers and my good friend, Kay, 22 male, and he told me everything. Apparently, Ellen has been telling all of our coworkers and friends that George has been trying to cheat on me with her, telling them that he calls her in the middle of the night, sends her inappropriate texts, and when I hosted a party after I wrote the MCAT, he spent the whole night eyeing her. Little flirtatious eyes across the room. I know that none of this is true. I love George, and I know that he loves me, and even as Kay was telling me all of this, I knew that Ellen was lying. It seemed that Kay didn't believe it either. He was just telling me what he had heard. But the thought that she's going around accusing George of infidelity makes me sick. I went straight to George's house and told him everything. Like, show the receipts, Ellen. If that really happened, great, let's see it. I told him I didn't think even for a second that it was true, and the real betrayal is how Ellen made all of this up and spread it around. I was crushed to know that not only did Ellen say all of this, but she'd been saying it to all of my friends for months, and not one of them came to me about it. George helped me get past the hurt stage, and now all I feel is rage. Tomorrow, I'm going to call my supervisor and ask if I can work from home until the end of my contract so that I never have to see Ellen's face again. I feel so betrayed and I just hate her so much right now. Am I overreacting? No. Should I be taking the high road and just keep working with Ellen as if I don't know? I feel betrayed by my other friends too, because Kay thinks they all knew what she was saying and not one of them told me. Should I cut them off the same way I plan to cut off Ellen? Maybe not, because we don't know all the details. Maybe they just didn't want to get involved. Maybe they didn't even believe her and they're like, whatever, it's such a lie, it's not even worth bringing. I don't know. Maybe talk to them first. Imagine Ellen's telling the truth though. I will owe Ellen an apology after this if it becomes true. We have an update. This update came recently. It was 1 year later, July 8th, 2025, baby. Mark it on the calendar. 1 year later, I can't believe that I'm still learning about all the ways that Ellen tried to ruin my life. I'll start with the good news first. Our internship ended without much fanfare. I didn't, as many comments suggested, contact HR or confront Ellen. I did contact our direct supervisor and told him that our personal relationship had deteriorated and that it had caused some hostility on her part at work, giving specific examples of issues in the workplace without getting into the weeds of personal pettiness that was going on. He was incredibly understanding and accommodating. I worked from home the rest of the summer, received a glowing recommendation from him, and got hired at our company in the top choice department fresh out of my internship while I finished my degree and applied for medical school. I mean, if that's not enough karma in itself, baby. I've been accepted to the top school in my country, and George and I plan on getting married once I finish my studies. Our relationship is stronger than ever. Ellen moved abroad but stayed very well connected to our friend group that we had formed through the internship. After what happened last year, I slowly began to distance myself from the group, and as I did, I realized that I had outgrown a lot of them anyway. Once I began to see the cracks in the friendships I used to surround myself with, I couldn't unsee all the ways they could be unkind, immature, and toxic to themselves and to one another. I held on to a few people that I knew had my back and came out of the internship with a handful of good close friends rather than a big circle of people with shady tendencies. That's the way to go about it, man. Quality over quantity. That's not the word. Quantity. One good friend from the internship, Alice, 22 female, had been close with Ellen about a year ago and has since told me a lot more of the things Ellen said behind my back, partially corroborating Kay's story from last year and adding details to some of the craziest parts. Apparently, to give herself more credibility, Ellen had been telling people that she'd been in touch with my roommate and friend of 11 years, Anna, 22 female. Ellen said that Anna also didn't like George and that Anna told her I spent way too much time with him, was neglecting all of my friends, and that he basically lives at our apartment and that I always do this when I get into a relationship. She also told people that Anna thinks George is faking his chronic illness and that I'd be using it as an excuse to blow off friends. Once when George was at our apartment and had a flare-up, I had to cancel plans to stay with him, afraid that he might need me to take him to the hospital. Ellen told everyone that Anna said he didn't seem sick and that I'd only canceled because I felt like staying home and hanging out with him. When Alice told me all of this, I immediately confronted Anna and told her everything. Although Anna and Ellen have been in touch on and off over the past few years, I'd previously introduced them to one another and they had some mutual interests that they occasionally texted about. Anna assured me she said none of the things Ellen accused her of, and even combed back through all of the messages to see if there was anything she'd said that might have implied anything like that. In going through Anna's messages with Ellen, we noticed a pattern. It seemed like any time I told Ellen I wasn't available, she texted Anna to ask if I was with George. This went back to almost the beginning of my relationship with him. Coming out on the other side of this, I've been trying really hard to reflect and learn from the situation. Was I a perfect friend to Ellen? Definitely not. I think there are certain things at the beginning when I was first dating George and studying for the MCAT that I was distant with her. Maybe I should have tried harder to patch up our friendship in those early days by confronting her directly, or maybe I should have been more in tune with how she was feeling and addressed it sooner. Despite everything, I do miss her a lot and I wish things had turned out differently. But I don't think she was fair to me either. If I had withdrawn a little bit into my relationship in the early stages, she should have given me some grace and confronted me directly when she had a problem, rather than going behind my back. She absolutely should not have tried to drag my name through the mud, made things difficult at work, or worst of all, tried to destroy George's and Anna's reputations and relationships. I recently heard that Ellen is moving back to the city and tried to get a job at the company where we interned, but she was rejected by every department she applied to. Am I a bad person for feeling a little vindicated? No, you have personal beef with her. I understand why you would feel a little bit of vindication there. This is a blessing in disguise. Once you see someone's true colors, that's all you gotta know. Like, thank you for showing me. Honestly, say thank you and move on. You'll find your people. I think my wife's best friend is developing feelings for me, and my wife doesn't want to believe me because it's her best friend. Guys, what is it with our partners and our best friends? What the hell's going on here? This one's a pretty new story, July 7th, 2025. Okay, yes, I'm aware I'm going to sound arrogant and like a narcissist. Get over it. My wife and I have known each other for a total of 20-ish years. We have dated for 9, married for 5. She has known her best friend, Dee, since the end of high school / early college. They are like sisters. Dee has horrible luck with guys, abusive relationships, toxic relationships. She has had it all and some. I know this because she vents about it to my wife and me all the time. Recently, she just got through a particularly rough relationship in which she decided she was no longer going to date and just be single for a while. She began making comments to my wife about how lucky she is that she has me, and it must make her feel so good to have a supporting, caring, loving man in her life and to take care of her. This is when her changed behavior began. She has been very clingy to me. She never was before. When she comes over, she puts her head on my shoulder, sitting on my lap. She tells me all the time that I make her feel safe and comfortable. She always asks how my day is going and if I'm happy to see her, or how I think her body looks in her outfit, which she kind of did before, but now she draws the attention to her feminine areas. A joke was made by my wife about Dee being a second wife to do all the stuff my wife doesn't feel like doing. Dee jumped onto this and now refers too often enough as second wife. My wife thinks it's funny, and it was until Dee sent me a picture of a ring she wanted, because even your second wife needs a ring. I'll be damned. This is weird behavior. Listen, I am very close with my partner's husbands and boyfriends. We're all like family at this point. No freaking way am I sitting on their damn lap and being like, hey, how's my ass look in these pants? I have a man that I can ask. What? A man that I can sit on his lap. And I get she's single, but you're fine. Ask your girlfriend. She'll tell you if your ass looks nice. Sit on my lap. You don't need to sit on my man. Sit right on my lap. I have brought all of this up to my wife because I don't want to keep her in the dark about anything. And she just says things like, oh, that's just her, or she doesn't mean anything by it. My fear is that Dee is getting what she's never gotten from any of her past relationships: comfort, validation, safety, and that she will become attached to this sort of fantasy. I don't want my wife to think I'm doing anything behind her back, but as I have stated, she just brushes it all off. Am I just being too observant, or is there something there my wife isn't seeing? thoughts. We do have some updates. Honestly, only you know best with the relationship and the dynamic between you guys. But if you're uncomfortable, that should just be a simple conversation between you, your wife, and Dee, and saying, I get it's a joke to you, but it's just making me a little uncomfortable at this point. So I think we should just cut that out. Update came 2 days later. There are some questions I keep seeing, so I will answer some below. Sitting on my lap. This has only happened twice. Both instances were at parties where there was no seating left where I was sitting. I actually offered her my seat, which she said thanks and sat on my lap. Yes, both times were in front of my wife and she thought it was funny, so rather than make a scene by kicking her off, I waited till an opportunity came. Like I needed more food, drink, bathroom, etc. Next question. Is she hot / am I attracted to her? By society standards, she would be very attractive. By society standards, my wife would not be as attractive. That being said, my wife is exactly what I want in a woman, just speaking physically at the moment. My wife is short, very pale skin, long curly brown hair, and not skinny because of the children we have had together. I'm sure she would love this description of herself. I love my wife the way she is, and we are working together to help her lose the baby fat she wants to lose. Dee, on the other hand, is taller than me. I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10", tan skin, straight dirty blonde hair, and skinny. Again, attractive, just not what I'm into. Now for the update. I talked to my wife about everything going on and my concerns about it, using some points that people brought up in the comments. Turns out my wife is aware of the situation and is actually partially behind it. Apparently, she brought up the idea of using me to show her best friend what to look for in a guy and thought it was a good idea, but has gone a little farther than she thought it would. Forgive her because she had good intentions. So we are both going to sit down with Dee and talk about everything next time she comes over. Now let's get to what you are all waiting for, the update. Dee came over, we all sat down at the table. The kids were at their aunt's for the night. I stated that I wanted everything to come out, all cards on the table. I want to know everything. So this is what went down. Dee has always had awful luck with men. She vents to me and my wife about it all the time. During a conversation when I wasn't present, Dee had said something along the lines of wishing she could find a man like yours because she will never know what it feels like to be genuinely wanted and appreciated. My wife made a bad decision and, in trying to comfort her friend, suggested treating me more like a boyfriend than just a good friend. Nothing physical, just the support and comfort and validation for a little to get an idea of what to look for in a man. I don't know about this approach though. Go to therapy. Dee said she was fine with it, but when she started to get it from me, she wanted more and more and started to cross boundaries to get it. The lap sitting, that kind of stuff. I asked my wife about it and she said it caught her by surprise, but didn't exactly make her uncomfortable with her friend. It was actually the mentioning of Dee wanting a ring that she finally started to see that this was getting out of control. My wife said she realized she messed up, but didn't want to say anything to me about it. I explained to both of them very thoroughly about how ridiculous this entire thing is, how there are better ways we all could have helped, and how this could have destroyed friendships and marriages. Amen. They should have come to me and we all could have figured out ways to help each other together. There were apologies from both parties. Dee is still our friend and she will be coming over in a few days for us to discuss how she can potentially work on herself and things to look for in men that she has an interest in dating. My wife is very sorry to Dee and me about the entire thing. My wife made a mistake that she is remorseful for, learned from, and will come out better for it. Dee will have help working on herself and working towards a healthier future. And then there's me, tired and I want a beer. Oh, and there will be no threesome. I just knew people in the comments were for sure gonna be like, hey, but like, it's an option. It's time for hydration station. Let me know what's in your cup. It's water in my cutesy new water bottle. Cheers. Friend put me in a potentially dangerous situation. How would you react? So my friend, 30 female, and I, 22 female, were at a concert about a week and a half ago. We had a really good time watching the show and later discussing it with other people. She's definitely an introvert and me an extrovert. After some point, I start to feel really drunk and sleepy and said I want to go home to my bed, but my friend insists that we go to another party together. Typical drunk behavior, not too alarming. I said no a few times and said sarcastically that the only thing that would keep me up is Coca-Cola. You know what I'm saying? So we started walking towards our homes. On the way, we crossed paths with a guy that I don't recognize immediately. My friend says hi in a super friendly way. At the time, I recognized the guy. I saw him twice in a skate park, but I don't know him and I can't remember his name. My friend doesn't know him either. She saw him twice at the skate park with me, but she does remember his name. My friend asks him if he has some Coca-Cola, and the guy brings us in his home's yard about 2-kilometer walk away. The guy starts preparing and I feel really drunk to a point I have to vomit behind a tree. When I come back, I feel obviously better. And I tell my friend about another night when she was annoying me a bit, but that I am not angry. In my drunk logic, it was the right time to say it, which was definitely not. So you just went up drunk and told her, like she annoyed you another time, another night, but you're not angry? Yeah, a drunken thought, but unnecessary. Anyway, I go sit at a table and when I turn around, my friend has left without saying anything and leaving me with this shady Coca-Cola dude who I don't even know. I felt really unsafe and started agreeing with everything the guy would say because I was afraid to make him angry and that he could do something to me. And to make things better, the guy tells me he is schizophrenic. Yeah. That's not someone you want to be left alone with at night while you're drunk and illegal substances are involved. Very dangerous. So I wrote to my friend that it's really not cool to leave me alone with him without saying anything. And she told me that I was rude to her and could not expect good behavior from her then. Hopefully nothing happened that night and I went home safely. Though the guy was pretty big and if anything went to happen, I would have stood no chance. The next day, she wrote me a long-ass message on how hurt she was and how I should behave. And doesn't ask any questions, doesn't seem to understand what situation she put me in the night before. So I don't answer her message because I was too angry. A few days later, she texts me again saying she is waiting to talk to me about my way of communicating. And I answer her saying that I am angry and I don't want to talk to her. She kept insisting 4 times after each of the ones I said no, until I finally told her to shut the F up. Oh, and she finally stopped. I have to add that we have been great friends for about a year now. Oh, okay. And it is the first time we really ever got into an argument. Now here are my questions. How would you react when a friend drags you in a potentially dangerous situation and leaves you there alone? How would you react when a friend crosses your boundaries and refuses to hear a no from you? Yeah, I wouldn't be okay with any of that. If you ask me something or to do something and I say no, there's no other follow-up questions to it. I don't even have to explain it. The answer is just simply no. It doesn't matter why I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. None of my girlfriends would ever, and I would never leave a girlfriend alone. Especially drunk. Are you? Hello? Do you know what world we live in? A drunk girl being left alone anywhere? Terrifying. I don't agree with the behavior. I don't think you should have said certain things either. I don't know. It's hard to say. Y'all are both drunk. I feel like you would both tell this story very differently, but I would not be happy about this situation either. Let me know your thoughts, guys. These stories, wild. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay happy. Bye.